This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1702, Previews!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Chris Eberly.
There we go.
Comic geek speak.
Oh, gosh, you can tell it's been too long. Well, welcome to the show.
Yes.
A two-man previews episode.
Yep, we just got under the wire. What's today's date? June 28th?
28th.
So just under the wire.
Sadly, you probably won't hear it until maybe after the month is over.
But after our sponsorship, we'll elaborate a bit on why we've been on hiatus for a little while here.
As always, this episode is brought to you by the fine folks at Discount Comic Book Service. That's dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. Get your previews catalogs, go online, look for their sales that they always have. Right now, they still are running, I believe, DC and Marvel 50% off trades and hardbacks. They always have a plethora of various bundles which give fantastic discounts on groupings of books, whether by category or crossover, or just if Marvel's bringing out a whole bunch of new stuff, they lump it together and you get a discount. And if DC's bringing out new stuff or Dynamite or Image, boom, you might get a lump of stuff for a really good price. Great service. We've been using them for years. I can't say enough about them. I think I looked in my account the other day. Gosh, I think I'm 10 or 12 years now using them, which back in the day, way back, I never thought I would be a mail order guy because it bothered me that stuff would get shipped.
To a shop, you want to have that experience.
Yeah. One of the experience didn't want books, quote, damaged. I never get anything damaged. Everything's always packaged to the hilt. So there's never a problem from anything I've ever ordered. But yeah, 12 years, I think.
I've been using them for about a year now, and I attest to what you're saying in that nothing's ever been damaged. And furthermore, and this goes back to something you told me once, Shane, I realized one month I had forgotten a book I wanted, sent them an email, no problem. They had it in a future shipment.
Yeah, yep.
So
I've done that quite a few times.
As long as the floppy comic exists, DCB Service will have my business.
That's right.
So
I had a little Peter Brady there. So, yeah, check out dcbservice.com, Discount Comic Book Service. Thanks.
So, as we record this, we said today is June 28th. I think our last recording was the Solo movie review.
Yeah, that's what I
think,
think, too.
Shortly after Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
So, it's been about a month since we've recorded. And this was not a hiatus by choice, ladies and gentlemen. As long-time listeners may know, we often have a difficult logistical transition. We go from spring to summer. Many people know that Murd goes down to Stone Harbor in my home state of New Jersey to help run his family's Christmas decoration store. And as is often the case, we had some technical issues with when Murd moved with his computer and Skype and so forth. Those are being rectified as far as we know, and we're hoping that in our next recording, Murd will be joining us via Skype. Pants has taken a sabbatical from the show, so we don't know when he'll be on next, but I'm sure he'll pop up again at some point, but he's on sabbatical. So right now it's just me and Shane here in the studio. Good to see you, brother.
Previews.
For doing the previews episode. Yeah,
and as always, life gets in the way. For me, we're always busy. The kids are on 3 different soccer teams. one's together, and then they each have their own travel team. So we're running
even
around
in the summer. All this,
yeah. There's 2 summer leagues that they run with their high school team. But the good part is they're now on the same school team.
Okay,
so now that cuts down a little bit.
Okay.
On maneuvering kids around.
I empathize to a degree because as a fellow parent of teens, I'm sure some of our listeners can relate to this. You're constantly chauffeuring.
Yeah.
Until they have their license, I'm in the car all the time driving them.
My oldest is working on that. He's got his permit.
My oldest has his permit as well. But Shane, you have a singular distinction. I don't know any parent whose schedule is completely as insane as yours is.
Yeah, my mom and various other people always roll their eyes. I'm like, well, to a certain extent, I wouldn't have it any other way. There's a couple of years from now, there won't be any of this. They'll be out on their own. So, and it's
also
also
when you and I are going to do the road trip.
It's also Whenever there are practices, I can usually sneak away, keep a stack of books or something, and I read in the car. So it was always a good way to get some comics read or some novel I was reading. So I never minded necessarily. I always thought it was fun.
We're honored to have you here, brother.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so as I'm sure many listeners know, Previews has gone through some changes in the past couple
they
months.
sure have.
So now we've had the long-standing separate Marvel catalog. Now DC has jumped on that bandwagon, and we also have a separate DC catalog. So I know this has always been a pet peeve
it
of
does.
Shane's.
It is a pet peeve of mine.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the regular Previews catalog first to show it the proper respect to sort of the founding catalog, and then we'll move on from there to the DC and the Marvel catalog. So now Preview starts in terms of its premiere sections with Image. So as is always the case with Image, you have a series of number ones, and we've said this many times throughout the years that how much we're enjoying Image as a company that will provide every kind of genre you can imagine.
A great venue for touting new talent, new ideas,
creator-owned concepts.
Yeah,
and every month there's something again for pretty much any taste you might have as a reader. You're probably going to find some Image that's going to put steam in your strides. I wanted to point out on page 38. I always enjoy the work of the writer Cullen Bunn. So Cold Spots, 1 of 5. Psychological terror, the undead, and a supernaturally bitter cold come together in this spine-tingling new series from Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres. 10 years ago, Dan Kerr turned his back on his wife and unborn daughter. Now both mother and child have gone missing, and Dan must face cosmic terrors to find them again. He soon finds that ghosts stir when his estranged daughter is near, and as the dead grow restless, the cold deepens. Great cover image.
Yeah.
So if you like Cullen Bunn's work, that may be something you want to check out. Now, I'm very excited about this on page 41. Hey, kids! Comics! Number 1. All that matters here is story and art by Howard Chaykin. And this is Chaykin's take on the history of the comic book medium. Hey Kids Comics takes its cue from nearly a century of turbulence and triumph, despair and drama in the comic book racket. Artists and writers, conmen and clowns, genneffs and gangsters create the foundations of today's biggest entertainment business, or at least the tail that wags the dog. Some of it really happened, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent and guilty, although in the end, everyone was guilty of something. So, I already ordered this.
Okay.
Because I can't wait to read Howard Chaykin's take on the history of this medium that we all love. The fact that he's mentioning, con men, gangsters, clowns, I have a sense of where this is going to go, and I'm looking forward to it with great anticipation.
That's awesome.
I want to point on page 42. I've never read this series.
No, I haven't either.
I'm sure Murd could speak to it. Age of Bronze. I've always heard wonderful things about it. Doesn't Murd love Eric Schanauer's work for some of the Wizard of Oz stuff?
I think so, yeah.
I believe so, yeah. And this is Schanauer's take on the Iliad, the Trojan War. And this collects issues 1 through 9. I've never read this series, which I consider a black mark on my comic book reading history. I hope I can correct that at some point in the not-too-distant future.
Page 44, I knew you were turning to it too. Mike Norton's latest offering is Little Donnie, Executive Privilege. Oh, hilarious.
Follows the timely and terrifying adventures of Little Donnie, the worst president in the history of the United States of America. Okay, so if you're pro-Donald Trump, this is probably not going to be your book.
No, probably not.
Unless you have a really expansive, thick-skinned sense of humor. If you're anti-Trump or neutral on Trump, and you're especially a fan of Mike Norton, a long-standing friend of the show and a wonderful artist, this may be something you want to check out. I never want to get political on a show that really isn't about politics. So I don't like to give my opinions, but I will at least say that, certainly the Trump presidency, whether you're pro or con, definitely I think it's fair to say lends itself to satire. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting read, to say the least.
I was often curious when I first started seeing Mike do this, how long or what the first satirical strip was or cartoon to show in a newspaper or something like that. Who showed it first? Like the New York Times or whatever, but somebody had to be the first one to put something like that in a newspaper.
I don't know the answer to that, but it's a good question, my friend. I mean, you think back to in the era of the Spanish-American War, you had, I think it's the New York World, the New York... One was Pulitzer's paper. One was Hearst's paper.
Okay.
And I know the Yellow Kid was one of the first comic strip characters to appear, and they battled over, gaining a share of the, because everybody who could read read newspapers then.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There was the whole idea of who had more readers coming in to see their comic strip characters like the Yellow Kid. So someone online can probably talk about that in more detail than I can at the moment, but it's a good point, Shane. I wanted to point out on page 55, I've really been enjoying this book. Again, Kyle Higgins, The Dead Hand. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a great, it's a thriller that has its roots in the Cold War, but takes it up into the present day. There's already been a couple great twists. I read the first 3 issues. Again, Higgins is one of those writers who, whether it's Cal, Hadrian's Wall, his Nightwing run, he's a writer that consistently delivers. Very intelligent writer, really brings nuance and history into his stories, and I highly recommend The Dead Hand. What else do you want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about, Shane?
I'm kind of amazed. East of West is up to volume 8 in a trade, issue 39.
I've never read that
Wow.
series.
I haven't either. I have a couple of the issues. I mean, I'm sure I read issue 1 and 2, but wow, I just didn't realize it was that far along.
Well, it's always good to see any independent book.
Oh, yeah. Here
Hang
on
in
page 59, Fear Agent, I know that's always a good book, and I didn't realize a 3rd volume of that was out now. It's Advanced Solicited. So it was a great read when I read the first 2 volumes.
Well, this is the grand finale of the series, so it's a reprint of the final arc. Art is breathtaking. All right, I wanted to point out.
Oh, on
Go
page
ahead,
63, volume 4 of I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. Scotty Young, man, I love his art. I love his take on different things. So nice to see volume 4 of that coming through.
And who knows, in the next couple of years, are we going to see more and more books just going to trade? I know Music's Astro City's doing that.
Yeah, I've thought of that too. I mean, that's where a lot of arcs are written anyway, is all for the trade, which does make a certain amount of sense.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Again, it's always about the economics. I mean, I often wonder, we talked about this before, the big two, are they actually making money on their floppy comics?
Yeah.
Or are they just the foundation for the story ideas that are driving the multimedia? So.
Yeah.
Page 65, I rave about this book every month. It's mandatory. Kill or Be Killed. All right, this is volume 4 of the trade. The series is actually coming to an end. Again, I love when creators, when they have their own property and they have a beginning and an end, they end their story. And again, this is the classic team of Brubaker, Sean Phillips, Elizabeth Breitweiser, and this is the end of their take on the whole vigilante plot device. This is one of the top books out today. Great, refreshing spin on the vigilante concept. There's some mysticism thrown in, or is it mysticism, or is it his mind? It's unclear, but it's a wonderful book. Again, highest recommendation. Page 66. I've really been enjoying Wagner's final take on his classic mage character. This is The Hero Denied, the third and final part in his long-standing mage trilogy, long-running, lengthy gaps of time in between each arc, but if you followed Mage, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. If not, go back and get the first arc, The Hero Discovered. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Anything else in Image jump out at you, my friend?
No. I'm still lamenting about trying to read the first 2 volumes of Paper Girls that I have. I've heard so many good things about it, and
It's great, and this is what's become painful for me in that especially after I closed the store, but even before I closed the store, I'd switched to DCB service. I had to cut some stuff out because I just couldn't. Once my bill starts to get over $100, I realize I can't. You know, especially without the additional money coming in from the shop.
Sure.
So I try to keep it under $100 a month, and I said, all right, I have to cut certain books. I cut Paper Girls, not because it isn't good. It is good. It's Brian K. Vaughan. Of course it's good. But I went to this torturous, labyrinthine, process of how which books I'm going to keep and which I'm not going to keep. And
I don't do it as much as I used to, but there are months, and I did do it, I think 2 months ago, where I'll go through previews and I'll put on everything I would be interested in. It's some astronomical amount, and then I trim it down to comparatively almost nothing. Yeah. The
One
good old
bo-
days when you could get whatever.
Indeed. Then adulthood and responsibility
Oh, yeah.
rear their ugly head.
Page 84. I didn't realize these were out. I saw them in a store somewhere, and Stranger Things figures by McFarlane. Now, this series 3, I didn't even realize there was a 1 or 2. I must have missed them if they were in previews. Fantastically done.
They are, and this is a show that I have watched. Keiko and I binged it
I
over a
have
few days this winter.
2 episodes of season 2
Okay.
yet that I have not finished.
I don't want to spoil anything, but for people who grew up in our
Oh my
era,
God.
the show is
It's
made
perfect.
for us. So well acted.
Yeah.
Looking forward to season 3. Jumping back a few pages, I wanted to point on page 81. My younger son is old enough; he started to watch The Walking Dead. I
Okay.
never really watched it.
Okay.
I watched maybe the first 3 episodes, so I've been kind of in and out of the room and watching it with him. He's into season 2. It's extremely well done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The acting, especially John Bernthal as Shane, because they do a lot more with his character in the comic than the TV show that I said they did in the comic. But it further reminded me why I dropped the book.
I still haven't gotten to that point
No,
either.
I know you haven't, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to ruin it. But I thought we did talk about it on
No,
maybe,
we
maybe you weren't
didn't.
there at the time we did that.
Maybe, yeah.
You must not have been. So I know the point where I think the book jumped the shark. I think they do get to that in the show eventually. But I'm enjoying the show when I catch it. Also, I put on page 80. So happy the Thief of Thieves has returned. Fantastic heist book. It's a Robert Kirkman concept. He's had other people write it. Sean Martinborough, the great Sean Martinborough, has consistently been the penciler. If you love, the whole idea of the master thief and all the challenges he faces, the sort of the sleight of hand, you definitely check out Thief of Thieves. Just go get the trades.
I'm up on page 90 where there's
You're into Dark Horse then.
Pixar.
Yep.
I am in God. I didn't even see. I'm looking at this for the first time on my iPad because
Yeah.
the previews comes with the digital code, so I thought I'd try it and not have for me not having the page flipping. I didn't even realize I went right through that. Wow, that's dangerous. The Incredibles 2, number 2, Crisis in Midlife, and on the next page, 91, Disney Princess's Jasmine's New Pet, a hardcover graphic novel. They look very kid-friendly, very cute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm flabbergasted almost that another company has Disney properties to make comics out of.
Doesn't Dark Horse also have a Star Wars kids comic? They do, don't they? I feel like they do. Or maybe it's Boom. One of them does. We'll come across it in the book.
Yeah, we will. It's Star Wars Adventures, which
Yeah.
that too. I really assume that Marvel in some form would take over any of this stuff. So it's nice to see that they're giving
Sharing the love
other
a little
companies the chance to make some Disney stuff.
I didn't see Incredibles 2 yet. Did you see it?
I did. I took Matt last week.
How was it?
It was good. A little slow for me in the middle, but it was very well done. Picks up right after the first one, and you're off and running.
What was that? 14
years ago.
Okay.
They do a great little thing in the beginning concerning that, and I won't.
Okay.
I hope that they stick it on the DVDs and all, whatever.
Okay.
Because I thought it was very nicely done. And
So
then
in a way, they acknowledge the lengthy time gap.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did. Yeah, it was cool.
I'll
But yeah, it was
check it
was really good. I did like it. Just again, a little slow in the middle, but very well done.
Mark Hamill's returned to comics on page 92. He's co-writing the Art of Troll Hunters hardcover. Guillermo del Toro is also involved in that. So the definitive chronicle of the making of Troll Hunters. Have you ever seen this series? It's an
No, I
animated
didn't.
Series? I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Oh, it's on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, well, I should have seen it by now. Huh. I'll have to look that up.
Well, for those of you who's feeling especially nostalgic on page 94, if you grew up with Super Mario Brothers, they had the Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia, the first 30 years, the official guide.
Now check out the next page, though, 95, where buyers will receive one of 4 covers chosen randomly: a super mushroom, a fire flower, a superstar, or a one-up mushroom. Now, years ago, that would have drove me nuts. Not going to bother me anymore because I'm just not quite that OCD about it. But I read that and I'm like, oh boy, randomly. Ouch.
It's interesting when you look at a property, it makes you realize how your life has changed and how you've aged.
Yeah. There's, my one old boss from my first regular full-time adult kind of job. I was driving around with him one day, and I know this is a total sidebar, but
I love
we were,
sideboards of comic.
we were
Shane,
talking
come on.
about comics, and he knew that I collected them in collection. And I mean, I had a couple thousand back then. And he said, do you ever think you'll get rid of any or just stop? I'm like, nah, never. I'm not getting rid of any ever. I'm going to have them all forever. I'm not getting rid of a single one. And I would love, he tragically passed away. He had a heart attack a few years after that. And I often would love to go back and just sit with him sometime and say, you're right.
What I
Life
really loved
changes.
about that anecdote was how you totally denigrated yourself in the past by the voice you gave.
Oh, yeah,
yourself.
a little pouty. No, I'm not getting rid of anything. And I mean, I was in my 20s. But
Yeah, but as my wife says, we're all still stupid in our 20s. So
Nope, not getting rid of a single one.
I love this guy, ladies and gentlemen. All right, page 96, Yoshitaka Amano. Now, if you've ever read Sandman the Dream Hunters,
Yes.
you might be familiar with his work. Legendary fantasy artist in Japan. This illustrated biography of his life, so if you enjoy his work, probably something you should check out. 328 pages, hardcover, $49.99 from Dark Horse. I want to point out on page 97, so we've got a new Predators.
New Predator. Predator
But-
Hunter 2.
And I mentioned this because there's a new movie coming
Yeah,
out.
there is. I was surprised. I didn't realize there was one being made.
Is it this year or next year?
I want to say next year.
Okay. 'Cause
But
I
I
know
could
there are
be wrong.
trailers.
Oh, is there?
I think so.
I haven't even seen a trailer yet.
I could be wrong there, but I think it's actually written by Shane Black,
Oh, wow.
if memory serves. So
I have to go
you know we'll be
search
going
of
to see that.
Yeah.
Page 99. I have to mention every month because it's one of the best comics being made today, which is Black Hammer. Jeff Lemire's, Dean Ormston, they're masterful. Sort of their take on, what if Golden Age heroes were, or Golden Age type heroes were trapped in sort of this pocket dimension, pocket universe, and how it affects them because they're there kind of forever, or it seems that way in perpetuity at least. Again, the powers, the characteristics, very reminiscent of Golden Age type heroes, or early Silver Age. But of course, there's a dark underbelly to it all. It's for me, it's one of the best comics out there today. It did win an Eisner, in fact. Now that I mention it, and if you loved a book like Sandman Mystery Theater, which also approached kind of a Golden Age concept, but in a more, shall we say, quote, adult way.
Yeah.
This book does the same thing. It's masterful. I highly recommend it. And Shane, go ahead. I'm sorry. sir.
Page 100, Dr. Star and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrows. I missed ordering this. I'm going to have to go back and... Go ahead.
No, we're in the same boat because I forgot to order issue 2.
Oh,
So I have 1, 3, and 4.
That's
So I said,
worse.
you know what? Fudge it. I'm going to order the trade because issue 1 was phenomenal. I mean, as you mentioned, this is very much Lemire's love letter to Starman.
Yeah.
I mean, the main character's name is Jim Robinson. The first issue was so moving. Again, I'm not going to say much because I don't want to spoil it. But if you love Starman, if you love that hybrid of the Golden Age feel with a more modern sensibility,
Yeah.
you got to read this story. And I'm looking forward to the trade too, Shane. So
I got to go send an email out to try and get it. Totally missed that it was a trade on that one.
Oh, so you didn't even order the trade
I
yet?
didn't
either.
know.
Okay.
I missed it. Totally
Well, as we
missed
mentioned in our promo
yeah.
spot, they will help you out.
it. One email and it'll be done.
Yeah, they'll take care of it. I'm going to jump ahead to page 109. If you jump back, just let me know. Innes's latest military comic, World of Tanks. So it's the promo aspect of it is that game, but don't forget that this is Garth Ennis doing military history. So I've read the first 3 issues. It's outstanding. It takes place around the Battle of Kursk in 1943, which was Nazi Germany's last bid, like a major offensive on the Eastern Front. One that turned out to be very ill-conceived from the German perspective. But it's the largest tank battle in military history. And Ennis, again, the man knows his history. He does his homework, every detail, the equipment, the technology, the tactics. It's all there. But again, he always roots it with a human dimension, following individual soldiers, in this case tank crews on both sides, and what they're experiencing. No one does war comics better. I highly recommend it. You know what, Shane? I wanted to mention because they have Hellboy: The Wild Hunt on page 113.
Yeah.
A little movie offshoot. I heard the actor from Stranger Things, the sheriff, is going to be the next Hellboy.
I heard that as well.
And if so, I think he's a perfect choice.
I
for
do
the
too.
role. He's
Yep.
a perfect choice.
I just watched part of. I didn't get through the whole thing. The second Hellboy movie, which I still like both of those movies. I mean, they weren't perfect,
So the first one, I enjoyed it.
but the first one I love. Even though, again, it's not perfect either, but I still love, even if it's just for Jeffrey Tambor being in it, in both of them. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to watch.
So just to remind listeners, we're going to jump back to Marvel and DC at the end because they have their separate catalogs now. So we're moving on. Anything else you want from Dark Horse, my friend?
No.
Let's move on to
Go ahead.
IDW. TMNT all day and all night.
And that's great.
A lot of properties here, yep.
I love that. In a lot of ways, I love the properties that I grew up with are still popular and still warranting movies, TV shows, toys, comics.
Oh, absolutely.
Boy, they're really so much in the turtle realm.
In fact, have you watched on Netflix the show where they go through the history of toys?
Oh yeah,
So I never watched them, and I was with some friends this past weekend, and we watched the Star Trek one and the G.I. Joe one.
yep. Just watched both of those.
And then the Star Wars. We watched 3 of the Star Wars one. I'm sure this is old news to a lot of listeners, but they were fantastic.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, they some of the stuff I already knew, but it only confirmed how well they did the research for these episodes. So well done.
Yep, I could have taken another hour on each of those shows, showing
Yeah.
stuff and doing things. And the other one I watched just last week, the Transformers one.
I haven't watched that one.
That was pretty interesting too.
The G.I. Joe one, though, was great to see them interview Larry Hama.
Oh yeah,
To acknowledge, what a role Marvel had, basically in suggesting Cobra and everything
Yeah.
else. So it was really entertaining. All right, so we kind of say the same thing every month. So you've got all the great properties: TMNT, G.I. Joe. They have ROM now, Transformers. Basically, if you're an '80s baby, this is your comic book company.
yeah.
This is where you want to go.
Now, I'm up on 137, which is just past G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 255. The next page has G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Omnibus Volume 1. So I suspect these are
These
now
are reprints of the Marvel trades.
all the Marvel stuff
yeah.
taking place of the complete collections that were out a few years ago.
Those beautiful hardcovers.
I have the first 4.
I have 5 or 6 of them. Yeah.
I'm having trouble tracking 5 down.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's nice to see that they're yet again coming out.
Well, soft cover, more affordable.
Yeah.
If you're interested, but you don't want to spend, $50. I think what were the hardcovers, $50?
Yeah.
I think they were.
Yeah.
No, it's when I was watching the G.I. Joe toy special on Netflix. They went into a little bit. They were focusing more on the toys, but they also mentioned how the comic was crucial to the advertising of the toy success. But again, they made one little contrast about how in the show nobody died, but in the comic people did.
Sure.
And we have to remember that Hama, in his brilliance, wrote a comic that works on multiple levels. We did a G.I. Joe spotlight some years back with Matt, one of our big-time G.I. Joe fans among our cast. But I'll still revisit some of those issues every once in a while just to read them for fun.
Sure.
They still hold up.
Oh yeah.
Like they're fun, gripping military stories. There's some fanciful, far-fetched elements to them, of course. And as a 12-year-old, oh, look at Snake Eyes! Like, it's so cool. But then you read it as an adult, there's more sophisticated humor. There's tongue-in-cheek stuff.
Yeah.
Hama's having fun. There's great subplots of the characters. And then, of course, there's the silent issue,
And I
which
love
is a masterpiece.
totally tying in with the toy thing on the Toys That Made Us. I love the explanation of why they created Snake Eyes.
Yes! To save money.
Oh my god! And yet that is one of the, if not the most popular character.
Yep.
That's I think across the board of the show.
Well,
the
he made a
comic,
badass
whatever,
ninja. Of course, all the kids wanted him.
to save
He
money.
doesn't speak.
One character with no
Mystery.
art on it at all.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
On page 143, Star Trek, again, the Tiptons keep knocking out of the park. I just read, I don't know if you got them, Shane.
I have them. I didn't
Okay,
read them yet.
so I won't spoil, but the 5-part
Yep.
Mirror Universe story. Awesome! It was so, if you're a Star Trek fan, you will love it. Because it's the Mirror Picard from the previous miniseries, now meeting Our
Regular,
Picard,
okay.
so to speak.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say. By the way, did you hear the rumors about Patrick Stewart?
Yes.
Wow.
And I've been so against paying for the streaming CBS thing because everywhere else in the world it's on Netflix.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about out there in the audience, it seems that Patrick Stewart's going to return to the role of Jean-Luc Picard.
I can't even imagine how that's going to be, or in what capacity, or what.
Whatever they
Like,
do, I'll be there.
You're not kidding. Like, okay, now that and the article went on to say multiple, not just Discovery and this whatever it is,
Yeah.
multiple more things. So you get me a few properties over there to look at, and I'll consider getting it.
I want to see what happened to Worf, baby. Come on.
I just couldn't believe it.
Well, that's again, it's rumor, but I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah,
So
it's enough that it makes me go,
exactly. As you mentioned on page 147, so they got Star Wars Adventures, Star Wars: A New Hope graphic novel adaptation. So again, Disney spreading the love a little bit. IDW gets these kid-friendly
think
versions.
I have that adaptation, the New Hope adaptation. I think it's reprinted from something else.
It looks
At least
familiar. The art does,
looks,
yeah.
It was fantastically done. If it's the same thing, it's a lot of fun to read the way it's collected in that. What I have is a hardback. Yeah, it was really cool. And the Star Wars Adventures, they're fun reads. I haven't read all of them. I have all of them so far, but they are kid-friendly, a lot of fun. And not really beholden to much.
Considering how few people are reading comics in general or reading anything, it's good to know they're always doing things for kids. Point to pay 158. Femme Magnifique, 50 Magnificent Women Who Changed the World. Let's see these writers. Gail Simone, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Gerard Way, Marguerite Bennett, Leah Moore, Lauren Bukes, and more. 50 female trailblazers said get a 4-color salute in Femme Magnifique, 50 Magnificent Women Who Changed the World. Astronauts, archaeologists, muckrakers, mathematicians, Kate Bush, Ursula K. Le Guin, Rumiko Takahashi, Misty Copeland, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Rosalind Franklin, Harriet Tubman, Ada Lovelace, Shirley Chisholm, and there's a lot of, wow. To be interested in many different aspects of history and culture from a feminine perspective, this sounds like a wonderful collection.
Yeah.
Great writers involved. I'd forgotten on the next page that Bloom County had returned.
Just going to say about it, I'm behind on my daily reading of it.
So it is a daily.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can go online onto his site, onto different things and see it. Read one strip a day. But yeah, this is, I think.
So he has it on his website. That's not, it's not on newspapers anymore.
No. It's all online. This might be the 3rd volume. Can't remember.
And how's it been since it returned?
I've still enjoyed it. I mean, it's not
still the satirical take on politics.
Oh, absolutely.
And culture?
On everything. It's not, to me, it's not quite as funny, and it's going to sound like I don't like it. No, that's not true. It's not, but when it was out in the 80s, it was funny because it was new and it was fresh and it was different. So I kind of know what to expect from it. So in that way, it doesn't shock me hilariously, but I still laugh at it and still love it. I'm just thrilled that it's out there again. It is, next to Peanuts, probably my all-time favorite comic strip.
Well,
newspaper strip.
And to have it back is a wonderful thing. Page 160.
Mm-hmm.
Superman: The Silver Age, Sundays, Volume 1.
Yep.
Jerry Siegel, Wayne Boring. That's enough.
Sure is.
So, all the Sunday Superman Sunday strips, 1959 to 1963. Now, remember, Siegel, he's had a long-running, as many listeners know, struggle with DC in terms of rights to Superman. And there was periods of time where he worked for them, then he was fired, then he worked for them again. I think this is like this when he came back to them after he left the first time. And again, you can read books like Men of Tomorrow, which really get into this in a lot more detail, their whole trial and tribulation when it came to gaining the recognition and rights when it came to Superman. And if you read DC Comics today, it always says, in I think in accordance with the Siegel family, something along those lines. I always had that credit. Page 161, James Brown, Black and Proud, writer-artist cover, Xavier Fatho. Forgive me if I mispronounced that name. Art looks wonderful. I'm a huge James Brown fan.
Yeah.
I had the fortune to actually see him in concert not long before he passed away.
Oh, get out. Wow.
I mean, he was in his 70s, but he was still grooving a little bit on stage. The music was fantastic. But there isn't hip hop, there isn't funk, there isn't rap without James Brown. So if you're interested in the music and the history, this might be visually it looks great. We mentioned, of course, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has returned. I haven't gotten the first issue of The Tempest yet. Of course, I'm looking forward to that with bated breath. Page 164. I always salivate over these, even though I can't really buy them anymore. The artist editions, or artifact editions, is different categories now. But so the Frankenstein Alive, the complete collection. This is Bernie Wrightson doing the Frankenstein's monster. That's enough right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the complete collection. And then the next page, we've got
some of the highlights.
Some of the highlights of recent artist editions or artifact editions.
I don't know if I knew that there was a Star Wars A New Hope one. I mean, that's an artifact edition.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I just don't remember that one.
I have the Empire Strikes Back one is one of the few ones I've kept because I just love Al Williamson's art on that story.
I have that one too.
And I should mention, by the way, the Frankenstein Alive is not an artist edition; it's actually a reprint of a story by Steve Niles and Bernie Wrightson. Just to be clear on that.
I thought this was interesting on page 166. Batman the Animated Series Gotham Under Siege game, and Midway's Joust from the 80s.
Oh God!
Joust.
Wait a minute! Wait! Were they riding the ostriches?
Yeah.
I was just in where I live in New Jersey. There's a series of nostalgia arcades. They're called Yestercades.
Oh,
there's 3 of them in the state.
Wow,
2 or 3. And I took my I had some friends visiting from Minnesota, and they have kids. We took them to this arcade, and they've got on the wall they've got like Atari and television, Nintendo, all the
consoles.
Then of course on the floor they have all the stand up games. I had one of my best games of Galaga ever. But I remember seeing Joust and how idiosyncratic it is. Just and now we have a game. What is this? A role playing game?
Yeah, some kind of board game.
I got my ass kicked in Missile Command. Man, too long. All right. Rest of the book.
Yeah.
So on page 172 of Murder, he'd be talking about Project Superpowers. This is from Dynamite Entertainment. Again, returning to, I don't want to say, not lesser in terms of importance, but just lesser known Golden Age heroes. Like, for example, I think that's the Destroyer we see here on the front cover. Murdo always speaks very highly of these stories in terms of their nostalgia appeal. Again, Dynamite also has a lot of great licensed properties. You've got Red Sonja, you've got Betty Page, Charlie's Angels, which I've not read.
I was just going to ask you if you read your first issue of that. Okay.
I don't know if I actually ordered that. I don't remember. Did you order it?
I think I ordered the first issue, yeah.
Okay, well, you can report to us, sir. Page 188. I've often mentioned how wonderful Dynamite's James Bond books are. This month they don't have any new issues, but they have a reprint of the Hammerhead story by Andy Diggle. No hyperbole here. Every James Bond comic I've read by Dynamite I've enjoyed.
Wow.
Some are better than others, but they all really capture the essence of that character and really the brutality, the shades of gray, the violence of his world. The miniseries I just finished, The Body, is probably one of the best James Bond stories I've ever read.
Wow.
Period.
That's high praise.
So definitely check out Dynamite's James Bond offerings. If you're a fan of the character, you won't be disappointed. As you know, Daniel Craig will return one more time for the 25th Bond
I was
film.
surprised by that.
I'm glad he is, because I think he's one of the best James Bonds.
But my only thing is, I liked the arc that they created with the last 4 films. Yeah. And if that would have been the last one, it would have been perfectly fine.
We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
It's being directed by the gentleman who directed Trainspotting.
Okay.
Danny Boyle. So I'm excited about that. And I hope the rumors are true. Because one of the rumors is, the next James Bond, some people are saying it's Tom Hardy.
Oh, wow.
Who would be, I think, an ideal choice to play that character.
Wow.
Another one rumor I've heard is Idris Elba.
Yeah,
Another
I
great
heard that
choice.
too.
Another
that
great choice. So we'll see what happens there. I wanted to point out on page 191.
I was just going to say that.
Do you want to talk about it first?
No, go ahead.
Matt Wagner's done several Shadow stories now over the past years. He did Shadow Year 1, which was tremendous. He did Shadow versus Grendel, great. And he did The Death of Margot Lane, which I read it in floppy. Fantastic. Now it's the title is misleading. It's not a lover in the refrigerator story. It's not what you think. I know Murd was concerned about that.
Yeah.
Wagner's too skilled a writer for that. But he just so nails the noirish atmosphere of the Shadows world.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to the hardcover. How much is it here? $40.
Yeah,
There'll be a
$40.
soft cover. Highly, all of Wagner's Shadow stuff I highly recommend.
But even so, if you're going through, and again, we're a little bit late, but if you order it through DCBS, I'm sure there's a discount. If not, look at their sister company, In Stock Trades, down the road. It should show up there as well.
Shane, you just earned that sponsorship dollar right there. That was clutch, sir.
There's just times I cannot help. I go on In Stock Trades, I start searching for something, and boom, there's like 3 trades that I haven't been able to find or that I didn't realize were back in stock or in print, and snatch them up.
Page 192, if you're nostalgic for the old Marvel graphic novel series of the 80s, they've reprinted one of them here, Swords of the Swashbucklers.
I never read that.
Bill Mantlo and Butch Weiss. Speaking of Bill Mantlo, did you see Cloak and Dagger?
I have not watched it yet. I have 4 or 5 episodes now on my DVR.
I've only watched the first one.
Okay.
So next time we have a comic talk, we'll talk about it.
All right.
So Bill Mantlo co-created Cloak and Dagger.
Just
so.
give me better than what Inhumans did.
I didn't see Inhumans. I heard how dreadful it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is better.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it.
All right.
But I'm always happy to see Bill Mantlo getting love. As many listeners know, he was terribly incapacitated in a road accident some years ago. It's good to see him getting credit both in Guardians of the Galaxy and now Cloak and Dagger. Because I always thought his writing was always very consistent in the 1970s and 1980s. Always enjoyed his work, Micronauts, for example.
I do wish I had more now, not maybe specifically this one, but I love seeing these, and I really think DC was the first to do it, these black and white statues of characters.
Yes.
On 194 is Joseph Michael Lincier's Dawn, black and white statue. I always think they look just, I don't know, nostalgic, old-fashioned. There's something about the stark black and whiteness of
the quality. Yeah,
it.
And I'm not a Dawn fan, but it's a great statue. And part of it is that black and white aspect, for me at least.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Boom.
Boom.
Okay, on page 204, a new Matt Kint story, Black Badge #1. A top-secret elite branch of Boy Scouts tasked by the government to take on covert missions.
Yeah.
That alone is a selling point.
I missed that. Oh, wow.
That sounds fun. A haunting look at foreign policy, culture wars, and isolationism through the lens of kids who know they must fix the world that adults have broken.
Yeah, look at that art on the next page.
Tyler Jenkins' artwork. It's gorgeous. Look at the next page. I never watched Power Rangers in my life.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. I just never watched it.
So here's a weird thing. I don't know that I really watched the TV show much as a kid. However, somehow, by myself, I went and saw the movie. The first movie, years ago.
Not the one that came out just recently.
No, the original one.
Okay.
And then I'd watch some episodes here and there. And, of course, while I was at Toys R Us myself working, stocking shelves of Power Ranger stuff, so I knew what was going on. I can't figure out how or why I went by myself to go see the first Power Rangers movie when I didn't really even watch the show. Just guess I wanted something to do. It was very well done. I think they had a couple Van Halen songs in it, which didn't hurt because I love Van Halen.
Me too.
But yeah, great.
David Lee Roth Van Halen or Sammy Hagar Van Halen?
David Lee Roth, I think.
Which one do you love more?
That's tough.
I like both.
I like both. They have such different sounds, and
Sammy Hagar can sing and David Lee Roth can't. So, and I say that I still love a lot of the David Lee Roth Van Halen, but he really can't sing.
But there's really just something about the way Jump was.
Panama is one of my favorite rock songs of all time.
All those early things, and then everybody thought when David Lee Roth left, that was it. Nobody would come in and take care of business, and bring it back to the way Van Halen was. And here comes Sammy Hagar, completely different sound, completely different music. Couple different, I don't know, I want to say love songs or something that came out of that. Just fantastic.
I enjoy both.
Yeah, I do too.
want to put it on page 216. I never heard of this story, but I really want to read it, considering people like Patton Oswalt are praising it. Saladin Ahmed and Sami Kavela Abbott. Hard-nosed, chain-smoking tabloid reporter Elena Abbott investigates a series of grisly crimes that the police have ignored. Crimes she knows to be the work of dark occult forces. Force that took her husband from her. Force she has sworn to destroy. I think I may pick this up. It sounds very interesting. I love a good, noir-like story, mysticism, all that. So,
Yeah.
And Patton Oswalt is a huge comic book fan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's high praise. Kong and the Planet of the Apes. I just read the miniseries.
Okay.
A lot of fun. Even better though, the David Walker Ursus miniseries, which is just finishing up. Wow.
I didn't get that.
Oh. He takes a character that, we see him in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
He looks cool, the helmet, the leather armor, the whole thing. But then he gives that character a whole backstory and fits it perfectly into that film. By the way, because you've seen Beneath the Planet of the Apes, of course.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I watched it again recently. I've seen it many times in my life, but I hadn't watched it in a while. I watched it again because I just read that comic. That movie is so grim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's no redemption there for humanity whatsoever in that film.
No, not at all.
I was reading behind the scenes how there were issues with the script, and Heston said only do it if I die at the end. He had his cameo at the beginning, at the end of the movie. Yeah. And Franklin Shafter didn't direct it, who directed the first one. So you definitely see a drop off in some sort of, let's call it the storytelling quality. But I still really enjoyed the movie. I mean, I think it's fun. It doesn't have the epic feel of the original for me, but which I consider a masterpiece. But it's fun, and I think it came out. I want to say it came out in 1970. I think.
Yeah,
So
it sounds about right.
It fits the time. You have the chimpanzee anti-war protesters, trying to stop the guerrillas from going out on their expedition, but it's a dark film.
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
There's no hope in it.
No, none. No.
All right, let's see what else we got here.
219 has Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Creation Mythos box set softcover. They're a lot of fun to read. I'm glad that they're able to do something with Dark Crystal.
Great concept, Dark Crystal.
I think there is something coming out on Netflix.
I heard that too, a TV series. Right?
Yeah, I'm quite excited about that after all these years.
On the next page, they got Jim Henson's Beneath the Dark Crystal. They got Jim Henson's Labyrinth,
Yep.
a movie I'm ashamed to say I have never seen. And I love David Bowie. I love Jennifer Connelly.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, I can't believe you've never seen that.
All right, Shane, wait. Reach out your hand.
Wow.
All right, this summer I will watch it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I hope so.
Yeah,
Whew.
that's shameful.
There was somebody at work today that said they
Yeah.
never watched
I
it.
can't. I'm
Two people in one day.
shocked at myself.
Wow. Soundtrack is awesome. Page 221, Jim Henson's Fraggle Rock Journey to the Ever Spring softcover, and Fraggle Rock number 4, written
Katie
and
Cook.
illustrated by Katie Cook.
Yep. Friend of the show.
I love watching her social media feeds with her and her mini-me's. Crack me up.
Anything else for Boom, my friend?
No, I'm not much into the animated properties, the kiddie shows, Garfield and Rugrats, Rocco's. Actually, I think Adventure Time, Adam does a little bit more than that. The only one I will say, 227, the Dell Archives, Dell Comics, Peanuts Comics collection, a hardcover of that.
All those have to be wonderful, I'm sure.
I'm not sure exactly what's printed, reprinted, or what out of there, or where it ties into all those hardcovers that like library editions of the
I remember
Peanuts
those.
strip. But yeah, my younger son loves Peanuts. So, and the movie, I wish they'd make another one. I enjoyed that movie, that latest one.
I did not see that, actually.
Oh, very well done.
Page 238. It has to be mentioned every month because it's Strangers in Paradise.
Oh, how can you not?
Have you read any of the new issues yet?
Yes, I have. Love it.
It's
Absolutely love it.
it's going home again.
I
isn't it?
also one of the things I do. So I'm carrying around an iPad reading comics on that I've downloaded. I'm taking at least one comic every night and trying to read it. I had pulled off before it because I was too excited waiting for the first issue to come out. I pulled off the first volume of Strangers and I started reading that. So I might have 4 or 5 different collected volumes in process here. And on any given whim, I'll pick one up. And I'm maybe about halfway through the first pocket edition of Strangers.
Again, I always say, he's a living master of the medium.
Oh.
He can do any genre.
God, the way he draws, beautiful.
Well, the expressiveness he captures in his characters, just a little gesture or expression on the face. And again, the new series, you've got the intrigue, you've got the deep emotional bonds between the characters. Kachu's past she's not done with it yet.
No, not at all.
And I'll just leave it at that if people haven't read it yet.
And there is no way to say that without saying something about Jamie hounding us year after year to read Strangers.
The man knew his comics.
And it's okay. Finally did. And, oh my God, I loved it. Fantastic.
I want to point out again, we're in the rest of the book now. So a couple things we're going to comment on. Page 264. Skymaster's Space Force Complete Sunday. So when we did our Jack Kirby spotlights last year, I mentioned in, I think, part 1, how Kirby, for a period of time, did a newspaper strip. So Wally Wood worked on it, too, called The Skymaster, the Space Force. And he got involved in a terrible lawsuit over it, involving how the profits would be shared and so forth. And it was a very bitter experience for him, which we talked about in that spotlight. But it's great to see because the art in these have always been highly praised. It's Kirby, for Pete's sake.
Yeah,
working in the late 50s into the early 60s, so that they've reprinted those strips here. I recommend people check that out on page 264. All righty. Well, on page 271, Archie meets Batman 66.
Yeah.
We talked about issue 1 last. It's written by Jeff Parker.
Yeah,
so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
cover by Mike Allred. So
I have always, I shouldn't say always, after that first Batman series from DC went so long, I stopped and I just kept waiting for the hardbacks. So I have
the Scott Snyder series.
Yeah. No. The 66. The
Batman
Batman
66 one. Okay.
So every Batman 66 related thing, I have all of them in a nice hardback format, all on the shelf. Fantastic reads.
On page 286 from Bongo, Bartman's Spectacularly Super Secret Saga one-shot. In a sweeping superhero saga spanning decades and dozens of pages, Bartman faced the most mysterious criminal mastermind of his career. Fates will be revealed. Loyalties will be tested. Identities will be mistaken. It's first and foremost the latest and greatest Bartman story ever told. Murd always speaks very highly of these.
I've read a few of them, the few of the specials. They are really, really well done.
So this is an original story then. Okay, because I know they're if you're a fan of the history of comic books, that there's so many Easter eggs in these stories, correct, in terms of satirical bents and things of that nature. So good to see I'm sure Murd's going to get that. I'm just moving on, Shane. Shout anything you see that you want to...
I'm up on 295. Capstone Publishing. Interesting.
I'd love to see these.
DC superheroes, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and origin story soft covers. I'm sure.
Kid-friendly, as the seal says. That's what I like to see.
Next page is the 20th anniversary full-color one-volume slipcase of Bone.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I have that version. I have the... Remember they did the leather-bound black and white collection?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I have that one, too.
Wow. I only have them in single story arc colorized hardcovers.
I have them in some versions.
I used to have a one-volume black and white, but I gave it away so somebody else could enjoy it. Since I had,
you see, ladies and gentlemen,
hardbacks.
That's why Shane is who he is. That's why we love this man. The magnanimity of his character.
Sell the shirt off my back if somebody needed it.
He's a swell, isn't he, gang?
Swell.
All right, I want to put on page 302. I always praise this book whenever it shows up in previews. Berlin. Now, this is by Jason Lutz. This is the complete edition. If you're a fan of history, if you're especially interested in the Nazi era and the rise of the Nazis during the Weimar Republic era in German history, definitely check out Berlin. Lutz did this over, issues would come out every once in a while over a period of years. But he follows a series of characters and how their lives are caught up and affected by the turbulence of post-World War I Germany and the Weimar era, and as the Nazis come to power. This is a master at the top of his craft when it comes to this book, the artwork, the narrative, the characterization. I highly recommend, if you ever watch the Netflix, the German series Babylon Berlin, which is based on a very popular series of German novels about a German police inspector in Weimar, Germany, in the pre-World War II era, the pre-Nazi era. And when I saw the show Babylon Berlin, it reminded me of the comic book Berlin. They both really capture the feel of that period and the tumultuous politics of that time. Highest recommendation both for the show and for this book.
Page 301 has Chris Iliopoulos' Cosmic Commandos Volume 1 graphic novels. So definitely check that out.
Good for kids.
Oh my gosh,
He's
yeah.
wonderful.
His art's fantastic.
Yes. I loved his Franklin Richards stories.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're
My
great.
son Jen always enjoyed those when he was growing up. There's a lot of great stuff out there for kids in terms of comics.
Yeah.
If you just know what you're looking for and where to get it.
Yep.
I mean, all the major companies have had a lot of output for kids.
Sure.
In recent years.
And I think more than, I shouldn't say more than most, between the big two, I think DC's doing a little bit better job of kids comics because they've had a constant rotation of Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo Team Up.
Which is tremendous. Yeah.
Gosh, there's another one too. Maybe Bugs Bunny's in there.
Well, they've been doing Looney Tunes. I don't know if they still do Looney Tunes now, but they did Looney Tunes for years.
Oh, yeah, they did for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a fantastic run of continuously trying to put more kids stuff out there.
Which is always heartwarming to see. Look at on page... forgive me, I just lost it here. I think it's on page 319.
Okay.
The Overstreet Guide to Collecting Tabletop Games.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was the thing.
So, classic board games, tabletop RPGs. Look at the old Dungeon Master guide on the front there. We all had that one.
I still might have it upstairs in my room.
Mr. Deemer, this book is for you. Fantastic.
I mean, it gets to make sense. If I look on Pinterest or something like that, and all these gaming rooms, they just astound me of the not only the display of games people have, like the wall. As much as I have comics, they have games, board games, wall to wall.
Yep.
Some of their tables that they've created to use during various games is absolutely impressive for D&D and different things. And with the 3D printers, then the sky's the limit almost. What you can do at home. It's really cool
Indeed.
to watch.
Page 325 from Hermes Press. They always do some great stuff. DC Comics before Superman. Major Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson's Pulp Comics. Where Major Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson, he's the one who set up National Allied Publications, which is became DC Comics. Eventually, was bought out by Jack Leibowitz and Harry Donenfeld.
Okay.
But this is some of the early books that he produced. But Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson is credited with the first original comic book in terms of comic book with new material in it. Remember the first comics they were just simply reprinting newspaper strips.
Yep.
He is credited with the first one, new material. So
I want to go back to.
I'm sorry. One more thing I want to point out.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. Below that, Nukem, classic Cold War comic celebrating the end of the world. Back in the 1950s, during the Cold War, every new day beckoned the possibility of the end of the world. Kids grew up in the shadow of bomb shelters, were treated daily lessons at school, and what to do in the event of a nuclear attack. So this volume reprints the complete runs of Atomic War! Issues 1 through 4, and World War III, issues 1 and 2. Now, having taught the Cold War in high school as a teacher many times, the students always loved when I showed them the old films of the drills that they would do in schools in the 50s and the 60s. Of course, the most famous of that is the duck and cover drill.
Yep.
And it makes you reflect on the mindset people were forced to live under then. I mean, today most of us don't think about the fact, we could all still be killed in a nuclear war. Because certainly it's the Russians and ourselves, we each still have enormous arsenals.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not. I don't think it's really in people's minds the way it was.
No.
I mean,
no,
this saturated the media.
Uh-huh.
You know, you had films, television, government hearings. The second Red Scare of the 1950s. So it's great to see them bringing back, like any artistic medium, a comic book can capture and remind you of a certain period in American history. So,
Sure.
well, go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
321, Golden Books. Black Panther, Little Golden Book. And on 322, Captain America, Ghostbusters, Guardians of the Galaxy, and a collection of Star Wars little golden books. I mean, who among us, at least our age, didn't grow up with these?
Of course we did. Absolutely.
Don't know if I ever thought I'd see a Ghostbusters little golden book. That's awesome.
Wonderful. What else, my friend?
Interesting. I don't know where it is. There it is. Yeah, there it is. Page 326. DC Comics Anatomy of a Metahuman hardcover. That could be interesting. I don't know that I would get it for $50 in a hardcover, but it might be interesting read to see what
Apparently
they
it's
do.
done in the format of Batman is compiling a dossier.
Yeah. Of all the metahumans
Yeah.
and how their powers work and
Which is something Batman would do
kind of
if he had to take them on.
cutaway views like a regular anatomy book.
Yeah.
Joe Books, tons of Disney stuff there too, which I kind of think they're owned by Disney.
I'm on page 358. Have you ever heard of the book Banana Sunday?
358?
Yeah.
No.
Paul Tobin, Colleen Coover. The classic story about Eisner Award-winning BenDebt co-creators Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover is now present in full color with a brand new introduction and bonus materials. Kirby Steinberg is having a bit of trouble fitting into a new school. Sure, there's the usual problems associated with being from, quote, somewhere else. But this time the new kid also happens to be the guardian for 3 talking primates. Chuck, the professional orangutan, Nobby, the love-stricken spider monkey, Go-Go, the befuddled golden gorilla. Jamie would love this.
Yes, he sure would.
These primates have learned to speak thanks to scientific processes of Kirby's father. Have they? What's the real story? That's what Nichols, Kirby's new best friend and unfortunately dedicated school reporter, would like to discover. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Page 362, Doctor Who magazine, special number 50 with the new Doctor on the cover. I saw online a leaked clip, just maybe 30 seconds of her in the episode. It was kind of cool. I liked it.
I have to admit, I have never watched Doctor Who. I know.
Oh,
I know.
so good. So much fun.
I have no doubt. Look on the same page, Art Baltazar, Gilbert, Volume 1, The Little Merman.
Oh, yeah.
I love books.
Oh.
Remember, they did those all the Super Pets books that they
Yep.
did.
And then there was...
Those are wonderful.
There was a Teen Titans run. There was a Super Friends.
Tiny Titans, yep.
Tiny Titans. That's what it was called. Yeah, they can do no wrong. Art and Franco. This one just says art, but that's awesome. My kids still cherish their sketches from Art and Franco. From when they were
I
at
have
Super
some of them
Show.
too. Yep. No, it's great stuff.
Proudly displayed in their rooms at all times. I said, if you don't ever get rid of them. If you're going to take them down, give them to me. I'll put them up in the comic room.
Sort of, again, from our era on page 373, The Mall Number 2. It's not every day that you get news that the heirs of a criminal organization run out of the coolest mall in southern Florida. It's the Breakfast Club meets Goodfellas and set in everybody's favorite decade, the 1980s. Notice the 16 Candles cover riff there.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Let's see, Titan Books. I'm looking for the Robotech in it because I thought that they were soliciting a volume, which I highly recommend.
Check out the
There
art
it is.
on The Raid #1. Artist, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize. Booty Sedawan Brad Simpson. This is a movie which I have not seen.
What page is that?
Page 380, but the art is fantastic. Oh, the perfect companion of the upcoming Hollywood remake. Maybe this is a Hong Kong film?
It probably was.
All right.
Let's see, where the heck was it? There it is. 392. Robotech Archives. Macross Saga Volume 3. I'm trying to go through them as well. The Macross cartoons, Robotech stuff on, boy, I don't know if it's Netflix or Amazon Prime. Might be both. But I don't know that I ever finished the cartoon when it was on TV.
I never watched Robotech either.
Oh, it's
I've heard it's excellent.
it's really good. In the comic, the new comic that Titan was doing, it follows the story pretty closely.
Was Robotech only one season?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so. There's an awful lot of episodes if it's just one season. And I mean, I know it was daily, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
But there are people on the forums who do.
I'm sure there are. Yeah.
I want to point on page 382 from Titan, the Prague coup. Now, this interests me because I'm reading the copy here. Arthur Graham Greene, who's my favorite novelist, finds himself in the midst of an intricate plot to unseat the Czech government. Explosive event remembers the Prague coup, a tense political thriller from a hard case crime set against the backdrop of Orson Welles' The Third Man, which is a great film based on a Graham Greene story. Graham Greene wrote many classic espionage novels. The Quiet American, which is probably my favorite novel of all time, is probably his most famous work from that genre. But if this is written in the spirit of Graham Greene, this is something I want to check out.
I love the Third Man radio shows. They come up on the Sirius XM radio channel every now and then.
What's the premise of the radio shows?
He's usually trying to swindle something out of somebody. Or
In actuality, or
yeah, like
Okay.
like it's Orson Welles playing the Third Man
okay.
on the radio shows. They're fantastic.
Oh, these are actually Orson Welles.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. Good old. I mean, from years ago.
Page 392. You mentioned the Robotech Archives. Next to that, the Chronicles of Hawkmoon,
Mm-hmm.
the Michael Moorcock Library. Artist James Cawthon. The art is gorgeous. I've never read these stories, but I've heard them. That's about it. But look at that artwork on page 392. Oh, magnificent.
I'm up on 398 with Tomorrow's for the next back issue.
Oh, Shane, you beat me to the punch. Well done, sir.
108, Aquaman.
Yes.
In all his orange shirt, green spandex glory. And son of a gun, they're going to have a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Lego of him. And Storm.
You sound like you're
Oh, I'll
tempted.
never see it. Never see it. I've never, ever been able to acquire any of the San Diego Comic-Con Legos, ever.
They're that difficult?
Oh, my God. They're almost impossible. Unless you're lucky enough to be there and then lucky enough to get picked to be lucky enough to have the chance to be lucky enough to possibly buy one. No, never had a chance.
Well, this issue, if it makes you feel any better, you get tons of Aquaman goodness here. Bronze Age team-ups, merchandise. That should be fun. The post-crisis Aquaman, Aqualad from Titan the Tempest, a Black Manta villain history, Peter David and Esteban Morado's Atlantis Chronicles, which are gorgeous. Greatest stories never told. Looks the original Aquaman 57, and the unproduced Aquaman animated movie. Let's do Ted Knight for a minute, even though it's from the 60s. Aquaman!
Aquaman.
Perfect. Now, I just saw on Entertainment Weekly stills from the new Aquaman movie.
Mm-hmm.
It looks impressive visually.
It does.
And I love how Willem Dafoe is playing Volko, his counselor. That's a perfect casting choice for that. And Nicole Kidman is his mother.
I'm excited.
I mean, Amber Heard looks perfect as Mera. One thing that I hope they change that goofy, they have to create like a water effect to talk to each other.
Yeah.
To me, that just breaks up the narrative flow. Like, just have them talk normally.
Yeah.
It's fantasy. I don't understand why they did that. It just seems so disruptive. What did you think about that?
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, I have high hopes for it though. I surprisingly thought. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the actor's name who played him.
Jason Momoa?
Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job.
Oh, I thought he was fantastic.
It wasn't that I thought he would be bad. I was just like, okay, it's Aquaman. It doesn't look like what I would want him to, but he was hilarious.
Yeah, and
and very.
The physical presence
Yeah,
is there.
yeah.
And if the movie, and I from what I read, I get the sense that they may go in this direction. The movie addresses the really interesting history and political dynamics of Atlantis.
Okay.
It'll be a good film.
Yeah.
And if they want to get away from the goofy stereotype of Aquaman, which I love in its own way, that's what they should do for this film. And the fact that they're going to have characters like Volko in it leads me to think that they may be going in that direction. And I want to put on page 399, Mike Grell, Life is Drawing Without an Eraser. Now, Dewey Cassell did the wonderful Herb Trimpe history. So, Mike Rowe's one of the great creators of the 1970s and 80s, Warlord, Green Arrow, John Sable. So it's great to see him getting his due here. I'm sure if Dewey Cassell's involved, this is going to be a fantastic book. They have a soft cover for $27.95 and a limited hardcover for $37.95. It's all from Tomorrow's. If Murray were here, he'd mentioned with me on page 402 from Valiant, Britannia, Lost Eagles of Rome. There's been 2 miniseries thus far. This is by Peter Milligan, art by Robert Gill, about a Roman legionary who sort of recast himself as like the first, they call him like a detector, like an ancient detective in Nero's Rome. The first 2 books were spot on in terms of the historical attention to detail. Each issue has a wonderful essay in the back, elaborating on the history that's being captured in the story. Wonderful drama and action. Highest recommendation for the Britannia, the 2 previous miniseries. Anything else from comics before I talk about some other random stuff?
No, I'm good with everything we
Okay, before we go to Marvel and DC, I have to I couldn't wait to talk about this. Let me find it. Because, Shane, if Murd were here, he'd especially appreciate this, but you will certainly appreciate this too. I have to go to the apparel section. On page 143. I never thought I'd see the day where the Orb would get his own T-shirt. I've already ordered this. First of all, they got him in his Bronze Age outfit on the motorcycle with that goofy eye helmet on, with the Bronze Age title font. I've ordered this shirt. I'll wear this shirt with pride. There's the most absurd, ludicrous comic property T-shirts I've ever seen. Wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Remember, the Orb was an old foe of the Ghost Rider, and he played a key role in the original Sin miniseries from a couple years back.
Oh, wow.
Cool Silver Age Giant Man shirt.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the trailers to Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
July 6th.
Whew.
So I'm sure we'll be talking about that movie once we've all seen it. But how about some of the great Giant Man images they have?
Uh-huh. And I love the banter that they have about what
Bill Foster.
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne. He's Goliath.
Could do.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I got to 20
Yeah.
some people like 65. 65.
Yep.
Oh.
We'll talk about that film when we see it. But I am really, really jazzed for that.
Yeah, me too.
Looking forward to it. Let's move on to Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do first? Your call, sir.
Oh, I don't care. Pick it.
DC. All right. Page 1. Adventures of the Super Sons.
I'm surprised they're bringing that back. Not that I think it's not warranted. I just kind of thought the series ended and that would be it. But I'm glad they're coming back in some way.
It's a fun concept.
So, is it a miniseries?
Who knows these days? I don't know, to be honest with you, my friend. But it's Peter Tomasi. I'm sure it'll be fun. All right, the next page, the Sandman Universe #1. So they're revisiting the Sandman Universe. Neil Gaiman's doing the story, and then he has different writers involved. A rift between worlds is opened, revealing a space beyond the dreaming. Meanwhile, a book from Lucian's library is discovered by a group of children in the waking world where it should not exist. Lucian calls for Matthew the Raven to seek out their master, Daniel, Lord of Dreams. I mean, come on. It's Neil Gaiman.
Is just the first of
48 pages, $4.99.
of a few books that are going to be set in this universe.
The art looks fantastic. There's different artists. There's Merv Pumpkinhead. Great.
Yeah.
Different artists involved. If it's Gaiman, I'm sure it's going to be well worth people's time and money. Remember, Bendis has moved over to DC, so 2 of his creator-owned properties, Pearl and Scarlet, which I never read Scarlet, are now under the DC, Jinx World, which is Bendis' label, under the DC umbrella.
I thought the next page was interesting, too. Batman and the Justice League manga volume 1. I put it on the order.
Let me know what you think of it. Kelly Jones returned. Look at those ears.
Look
at those ears.
Yeah. As soon as you see that, you know who's drawing it.
Batman Kings of Fear, Scott Peterson, Kelly Jones. When he and Doug Monk did that, I thought that was a great run of Batman.
I did too.
I really enjoyed that run.
Yeah.
Was it the 90s?
Yeah. Had to be the 90s.
That was excellent. DC Supergirl's The Search for Atlantis. Again, good old ages stuff.
The next few pages. Catwoman and Tweety and Sylvester special, Harley Quinn and Gossamer special, Joker and Daffy Duck, and Lex Luthor and Porky Pig.
So which one are you going to get?
I'm not going to get any of them. I'm going to get the trade.
Okay.
I like the way the Catwoman and Tweety and Sylvester one look, and the Harley Quinn and the Gossamer one. I got to say, Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, the way they're drawn, they kind of creep me out. They look a little funky.
Porky Pig has a very, gluttonous corporate robber baron look to him.
And reminds me of the Batman villain. Recent. One of the more recent Batman villains.
In the comic?
And on Gotham, too. He appeared.
I haven't watched Gotham in years.
I can't remember if he's just called Pig or not. But yeah, creepy kind of way. So I'm going to pass on those for now.
Page 16. I've been raving about Aquaman for a long time now because Dan Ammon's just knocking it out of the park. He's created this wonderful, intricate, lengthy epic about Aquaman trying to, if not regain the throne, then restore Atlantis to its former glory because it's under the control of a mad king. Mm-hmm. And this is a two-parter story crossing over into Suicide Squad, Sink Atlantis. Dan Ammon's involved in both stories, so I'm reading it. So that's all I need to know there. But again, we talked before about what we like to see in the Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing right now in the Dan Abnett run. Page 19. Okay, so I've been reading, as I mentioned, I've been reading Tom King's Batman in trade. I just ordered from my library, I want to say it's volume 4. And I've been ordering the past few months of issues, so when I'm done with the trades, I can go right into the... Because I want to continue this in a monthly format, because that's how good this book is.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I just caught up on... maybe 8 issues I had of Batman. Fantastic.
Yeah, if you...
The Booster Gold story.
Haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, God. That was so good.
He just had an O-face, ladies and gentlemen.
That I did not expect that story to go where it did. It really was.
Well, what
fantastic.
I love about Tom King, and again, he's just a Mr. Miracle, too,
mm-hmm.
you have a highly skilled writer who's also, we know this from knowing him personally, is also a passionate fan of these characters.
Yeah.
And that comes through in everything he writes, the attention to their histories, their personalities. Nothing is left out. He is easily one of the best writers in comics. So I second your enthusiastic testimonial there, my friend. Let's see what else we got here.
Green Arrow 43, just putting it out there, that Julian Shauna Benson writing.
What page is that on?
31.
All right.
Can't wait for their first issue to come. I have the annual that they wrote. I have to read that yet, though.
Good luck to them. I'm putting on page 27. Have you read the Deathstroke Batman story in Deathstroke these last few months?
Mm-hmm.
By
I
Priest?
have not.
Are you getting it?
I have not, no.
Okay. It's awesome. They're calling into question what is Damian's actual parentage. Is it Slade or is it Bruce?
I do not want it to be Slade. That would tick me off.
It's the story's still going, but I don't know where it's going. It's Priest at the top of his form. It's good stuff. And they also established, this is really fun, that Wintergreen and Alfred have a past relationship, like a friendship.
Get out!
So they play on that.
I guess that kind of makes sense for what they both respectively have done.
Yeah, so that's fun.
Page 39 has issues 5 and 6 of the New Justice League. I read issue 1 last week. Loved it.
Was it good? Okay.
Art was fantastic.
I haven't read it yet. The No Justice miniseries.
I thought that was really well
read
done
it
too.
All right, I'll have to read that. I have it in my pile.
I think it's 4 issues.
Scott Snyder, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
Teaming up heroes with villains. Star was in it, and they do some really crazy stuff with him that I didn't think they did.
When I read it, we can talk about it.
Yep, I caught up on both Justice League and Justice League of America to get into the No Justice so I could read that first issue. And boy, I really liked, for the most part...
It's better than crap on a cracker, eh, my friend?
Oh, yeah. I really liked Justice League, the way that series continued and ended. Justice League of America went up and down for me, but it did end on a high note. And then going right into the No Justice and right into this first issue of Justice League, really so much better than what I think it had been for the last few years overall. This has the potential to really be fantastic.
All right. High praise from our number one Justice League fan.
And I haven't gotten issue 1 of Justice League Dark or Odyssey yet, but I'm excited for those two. I did not think I'd like them.
Mm-hmm.
but I really like where they came out of from No Justice.
I mention this every month. Page 43, Mr. Miracle, Tom King, Mitch Gerads. It's
Yep.
It's so freaking good. I mean, again, he takes, just like with The Vision, he takes a character who is great history, but, kind of more in the second-tier character, the way he's relegated.
Yeah.
Boy, does he just realize everything that's possible with the concept of Mr. Miracle, takes it in a direction that is new, but still acknowledges where he's come from, his history, his past, everything. Art is breathtaking. I love how he explores the marriage of Barda and Scott.
Mm-hmm.
There's mundane stuff in sync with the fantasticals. They're busy trying to have a family while fighting a war against Apocalypse. Great humor, pathos, and I think this series is finite too, which is as it should be.
Yeah, I believe it is. I think it's 12 issues.
Good, because that's when you get better stuff. It's interesting. As I was reading Amazing Spider-Man last week, I was catching up. I was reading up to issue 800. And everybody knows how much I love that character. I was bored by the end, Shane.
Oh.
Nothing against Dan Slott. He's a great writer.
Yeah.
But Norman Osborn's back again. Green Goblin's back again. I love the Green Goblin. I love all those characters, the history. But I think what's starting to happen with me as a reader is, because these are properties, it keeps kind of...
Yeah, I mean, they always were properties in a sense, but there was a more organic flow to...
Well, as more decades passed...
What a creator could do and what they came with.
I got bored. I couldn't believe it. But yet, reading Marvel in 2 and 1 by Chip Zdarsky, I just read the annual. Dr. Doom, I've always loved the character. We did a spotlight on him. He is now the most interesting character in the Marvel Universe because Zdarsky and also Bendis in Iron Man, they're doing new things with Dr. Doom's character. They're taking him in new and interesting directions. I'm riveted.
Wow.
So these characters are great. Just when you breathe the right kind of life into them, they take in very interesting narrative directions. Look at Scooby-Doo Team Up 41 on page
Penelope Pitstop
52. Man! The Anthill Mob.
Can't go wrong. I wish I could find these things. I know I can buy DVDs or digital copies of stuff. I want them back on TV without getting that kind of stuff. I always thought that's what Boomerang cartoons channel should be, and I think they've gotten away from that a little bit. We still get Scooby-Doo and Flintstones and stuff, but...
Well, Scooby-Doo Warrior 94, hey, they're fighting the Yeti. Come on.
Suicide Squad Annual Number 1 looks like they tangle with a Swamp Thing on page 57. Yeah, 57. Did you read Superman Man of Steel?
No.
I only have the first issue so far. The rest are coming in my next show.
Okay. I think I had the number 1. I haven't read it yet. Again, I didn't order all the Superman stuff just because of my budget.
Yeah. Teen Titans Go number 29 on page 60. Nothing special about it other than, okay, here's another kid-friendly book. However, sidebar,
Fish.
The movie coming out in July.
I didn't realize there was a movie coming out.
I didn't either until a few weeks ago. Looks hilarious.
Is it in theaters or on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. July, I want to say 27th. I could be wrong.
Good tip.
It was a preview in front of The Incredibles, and my younger son was with me, and he looked at me, and he's like, can we go see that? I'm like, yeah, we're going to go see that.
I want to point out, mind if I go to trades?
No, go ahead.
Page 77. Now, I remember when the Before Watchmen stories came out. Some people are very critical of DC doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read these?
I did not.
Okay. I read some of them. And I mean, there are different camps of thought on this. The Darwin Cook one of the Minutemen is tremendous.
Okay.
It's the late, great Darwin Cook.
Yeah.
The golden age Minutemen, so to speak, of the Watchmen universe. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed the Night Owl story. I want to say that was Joe Kubert who drew that one, I think. That was very well done. So I didn't read all of these, but the ones I read, I thought these are top flight creators: Azzarello, Cook, Amanda Connor, Len Wein, the late great Len Wein, JMS. J.G. Jones, Darwin Cook, Steve Rude, Adam Hughes, the Kubert brothers. I mean, there's some great stuff in here. Now, this is an omnibus. I mean, you can find a lot of these miniseries in bargain bins.
Oh yeah,
Easily. So, but if you love Darwin Cook, definitely seek out the Minutemen one. That was magnificent.
I like the idea of this new, back on 69, the Dark Knight Returns is getting another new edition, DC Modern Classic Edition, a hardcover inside of a nice little slipcase. I mean, it's $50, but it's a handsome cover, handsome format. I know there's I think a Watchmen one later in there for that same trade dress, so to speak. Hope they come up with some things that I don't have a copy of already to do that. I think it's interesting that they're putting all these Nightfall things for their 25th anniversary of that.
God, it's been 25 years.
25 years. Can you believe that?
Jeez.
I can still remember the comic store in Collegeville I was going to, Collegeville, Pennsylvania, right off Main Street that I would go down to get my issues of that.
I just watched, not too long ago, I had because like you all, when I'm doing work, especially tedious work, like I'm grading the same thing a gazillion times over, for example, I'll put on a movie I've seen 100 times just for background. So I put on The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, okay. My least favorite of his three. It's still good, but
I love it. I take all three of those movies as one movie, basically.
Well, there's a good argument for that too.
First of all, Hathaway is amazing as Catwoman.
Yeah,
she's like when he catches her with the pearls. And she's kind of cocks her head, and she goes, "Oh my God, she's Catwoman."
As soon as she did that, I went, "Oops."
Yep. And I totally dig Tom Hardy as Bane. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his acting in general.
I am a fan of his acting.
I really enjoyed his performance. I know some people didn't.
I'm not the biggest Bane fan at all.
Yeah, in general.
In general,
yeah,
he did a great job. I thought that story got away from them a little bit. I liked who the woman ended up being. And
did you know it was Talia from when you first saw it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because there's a clue when she talks about the world has to be in balance when they're at the fundraiser.
And I can't remember, and I'd have to go back and listen to our movie review.
I don't know if I caught it the first time either. I don't remember.
That's what I can't remember, if I caught it and saw it or if I didn't till later.
But anyway, because they have Bane smash his back on his knee in the film.
Yeah.
I love those movies. I think Christian Bale was so magnificent in the role.
Absolutely.
Definitely the best Bruce Wayne in terms of like the mask. Like Bruce Wayne is like his performance essentially. I'm interested to see. Now, has the Affleck Batman movie been canceled?
I don't,
because they were going to do a solo film, right?
So
okay.
I hope not, because I really would like to see him.
I would too.
Do one. I liked him as Batman.
I do too.
I thought he was great in Batman Superman. I mean, that movie itself I do like, but it had its own problems.
Right.
I do like Justice League. I think, again, there are certain things that I could have maybe done a different way or would have thought to do differently than they did, but I still enjoy it. I don't watch it as much as some of the Marvel stuff that's been out there, like Guardians, Ant-Man, and all that, but I just downloaded it onto my phone today, 2 days ago, to watch again at some point, because I feel like it's time. I haven't watched it in a while.
By the way, you've mentioned this before on page 88. There's the Watchmen slipcase. They're handsome editions, I will say.
Yeah, they are.
But we already have them.
I do.
Some of us have them in multiple formats. So
yeah, that's true, too. Now, that, again, silly me, come out with something in Justice League like that, I'm probably going to pick at least one of them up. I know they just had that omnibus for the Giffen DeMatteis McGuire run.
I have that.
I do, too.
Yeah, and
I wasn't going to.
One of my summer assignments for myself is to read that, because I've read some of those stories, but not all of them. I want to read the whole kit and caboodle, and then we can talk about it on the air. Now, it'll be some months from now when I finally get to that, because I have so many other things ahead of it. But
sure,
it's on my summer list. And else for DC, my friend.
Just page 91. I really do like these DC Artist Alley Chris Aminga statues or vinyl figures.
Cool.
The Flash one so far is my favorite. I don't know that I'll ever get any of them. $40 I just don't have right now, but it is a neat version a neat rendition. That's
Right.
God, the rendition. That's the word I'm thinking of.
And you mentioned Batman Black and White on page 94.
Yeah.
They have one based on the Batman manga version of the character. Great statue.
Yeah. Very,
They
very
definitely have the
60s
style. It's really well done.
Yeah. 60s, 70s-ish. I like the little black lines that and hash marks to give the statue definition.
Yep.
Sorry, I got something in my throat.
Time for Marvel, my friend?
Yeah.
Well,
Finally.
finally, the first family of comics returns.
Took way too long.
Fantastic Four #1. Look at this creative team. Dan Slott and Sarah Pichelli. In immediately. Love the uniform design. The redesign for their uniforms.
Yeah.
They've got variant covers up the wazoo for this, of course, including a wraparound by Art Adams. Wow, look at that. Which also incorporates the classic issue 100 cover. That is cool. Look at that on page 9, Shane.
I can't get it open.
Wow. Very impressive.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I ordered that sucker right away.
We'll be discussing that on the air whenever we all get it and get it read. But how many? It's been they Reed and Sue disappeared after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And I've been mentioning on the air Marvel 2-in-1. If you love FF, Zdarsky has so captured the feel, the history, the pathos, the humor of the dynamic between those characters. It's one of the Marvel's best series. Highest recommendation. Again, the annual I just read. Wonderful take on Dr. Doom's journey as a character and what he's going through, because he's going through some major changes as a character in ways that actually feel meaningful. Highest recommendation. If Murray could talk to Infinity Wars on page 20 and 21, Jerry Duggan and Mike Diodato. I've been keeping up with that saga, but I got to start at some point. Page 24, West Coast Avengers.
I'm surprised it's coming out.
Kelly Thompson, Stefano Caselli.
Love the title work, the art for the title.
Yes. Oh, the title font. Yeah, it's great.
That's it. God, my words are escaping me today.
I love when you make up words, though.
Splendiferous.
Yes, exactly.
Fantasticum.
That's one of my favorites of yours.
Fantastical.
This is Hawkeye and the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. Gwenpool. I bet that's fun.
I mean, it should be West Coast Avengers always were.
I
goofy,
love
right?
that title. So on page 29, we have Venom First Host. I mean, we have a Venom movie coming out with Tom Hardy
Tom Hardy.
this fall.
The preview looked incredible.
He's a great actor. I'm going to go see it just because he's in it. Now, it is a Marvel film
By Sony.
by Sony.
Yep. I don't think...
Is Spider-Man going to appear, or we don't know?
I think it has anything to do with the current Spider-Man.
Okay.
I could be wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong, because I think if you have a Venom movie and Spider-Man's not even mentioned, I'll be a little disappointed.
Right.
Because really, without Spider-Man, you would not have Venom normally. Now, I know they could change it for the movie.
Yeah.
But I really do hope that it's part of... I don't think it is, though. I think it's separate
Well,
from
we'll
the
find
agreement.
out. Page 34 and 35. Again, it's all about writers for me. So we have Jason Aaron continuing his legendary run on Thor.
Yep.
Look at that classic cover. Oh, it's so good. It's like a Kirby psychedelia.
Mm-hmm.
And then Avengers 6. Did you read the first few issues of Avengers by
No,
Aaron?
I have the first two. They're actually on my
Okay.
iPad.
They're
I got
great.
them. I got
They're
the
great.
codes.
Look forward to discussing them. Captain America 2, Ta-Nehisi Coates on page 36. Looking forward to issue 1. Love the remastered variant Kirby cover there. That's on page 36. Dan Slott is relaunching Iron Man. This is issue 3 on page 38. These are all great writers, so I'm sure these are all worth reading.
Yeah.
But as I said before, and I was actually Gesundheit, I was actually downcast by my reaction to reading last year's Amazing Spider-Man, because they're very well done. They're Dan Slott comics. They're excellent. But I was like, I don't know. It's just not doing it for me right now. It's just...
I have such a hard time with, and I know every company does it. DC's done it. Marvel does it. I've had such a hard time the last couple of years getting into and sticking with titles at Marvel because of all the redoing and the reissuing and renumbering and rechanging and recreative team. Again, I know DC does it 100 times if they do it once. Just some of the stuff that Marvel's
I think
doing
for
is not
me,
sticking
part
with
of
me.
it's because I've become somewhat spoiled by some of the more adventurous creator-owned comics because anything can happen, and you know that most of them will have an ending in mind. And I understand it's a business because these are properties.
Yeah.
They're going to go on and on and on, at least in the near future,
Sure.
in some form or another. So sometimes the stakes don't feel like the way they did when I was younger, and Marvel had been around for only like 20 years. So there was a tighter continuity, and there was also a greater feeling of like, wow, this matters. That's my own little fanboy cross to bear right now.
Yeah.
But Doctor Strange at page 55. I have issue 1 by Mark Waid. Haven't read it yet. I'm sure it's great. It's Mark Waid. I also have Ant-Man and the Wasp #1 by Mark Waid. I have to read that as well. I'm so psyched for this film.
Yeah, I am too.
The trailers look so fun.
Yeah.
I love Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. Michelle Pfeiffer is going to be Janet Van Dyne. So
Yep.
we're going to the microverse, baby. I have no doubt.
Yep.
So that's great.
Evangeline Lilly, I love the way she looks in that outfit.
She looks fantastic.
Her little there's a scene in the previews where they're driving in the van, and I know it's probably cut out of order just for the preview, but she says something like, watch this, and hits a button and stuff happens. But there's a little look she gives when she looks to the left and a little smirk. I can't describe it other than she looks fantastically confident in that role.
And she's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So-
I can't wait to see her full-on Wasp and putting down Ant-Man in the process in
Yep.
some ways.
And using Pez dispensers as weapons.
Oh, Hello Kitty's Pez dispenser.
Page 57. Tiny Siko's taken Black Panther in an interesting direction where T'Challa ends up far into the future. And the first issue was outstanding.
Really?
Where there's like a Wakandan intergalactic empire, but it's not benevolent.
Huh.
So I'm really interested to see where he goes with that. The first issue was great. Again, on page 58, Marvel 2-in-1, one of Marvel's best titles now, hands down. You want the Fantastic Four, you want the spirit of those characters, it's right here. Chip Zdarsky, knocking it out of the park every month. He knows those characters so well, and he's reverent towards them.
I actually kind of expected that to end with the Fantastic Four coming out, or at least change the characters.
Probably
that
will
are
at
in
some point, I don't know. But we mentioned this because it's amazing. Ed Pisker's X-Men Grand Design. These are phenomenal.
I have to get this.
Oh,
this.
Shane. I mean, I read the Silver Age one, just how he takes all the history.
Yeah.
He retells it, but his own distinct style and his own narrative flair. Because, I love the X-Men, but I've fallen away from all the
I
books.
totally
There's
have.
too many. It's
Yep.
too. I don't care that much anymore.
And I was
but
not
these
going
make it care again.
I wasn't going to give it a chance until you said how much you liked the first
it's
one.
wonderful.
So I've got to
It's
track
really
that down.
wonderful. Like here we got X-Men Gold, X-Men Annuals, Astonishing X-Men, Domino, X-23, Old Man Logan,
And it's fine. I
Weapon
mean,
H, X-Men Red, X-Men Blue.
in some ways, I'm glad that they're
Can't keep up.
able to support all of these X books.
If they
If
actually
they
are.
actually
Who knows?
are.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And we got Deadpool,
Deadpool,
Weapon X,
Deadpool,
Deadpool
Deadpool.
Assassin.
I'm glad I liked the movie.
The movie was terrific.
Exiles #7.
Haven't read these. I love the original Exiles.
I did
I read it
too.
for quite a spell.
Yeah, I did as well.
Good to see on page, again, talking about kids' comics, page 89, Marvel Super Adventures,
Yeah.
Inferno #1. Jim McCann writing, Dario Brizuela, forgive me if I butchered that, on art. Fun.
Yeah,
and we
looks
got
fun.
chapter books on the next page, Marvel Super Adventures. These are great for kids. I had a ton of these in the store, these types of books, in our kids section.
Page 92.
Ah.
Interesting. Beckett #1. It's just a one-shot,
I am
though.
so dismayed. All the flack this movie's getting in the media.
Me too.
I thought it was fantastic.
So did I.
I mean, part of me is thinking, again, I'm a layman, what do I know? But I'm just thinking, maybe you shouldn't have released it a few weeks after the
Well,
biggest movie of all time.
There's that. There's
like,
also
maybe people were fatigued. Like wait till December.
There's also
do it?
only a few months after the last
Yeah,
Star Wars
exactly.
movie. Then you had the Avengers in here. You had
Deadpool
what else?
came
Deadpool
out.
came out. Like, yeah, it really.
And the funny thing is, Disney owns all of them.
Uh-huh.
Like, who was asleep with the switch for scheduling?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Solo was sensational.
Thought it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Well, we talked about enough. Go listen to episode 1701. but yeah, it was.
Now, all these Star Wars, like, the Star Wars title has been consistently great from issue 1.
Yes.
I know there's one bad issue.
I'm woefully behind on it right now.
You just have more fun to catch up with, my
Yeah.
friend. I'm almost envious. Hope dies. I can't wait to read this story because anytime where Vader really starts to,
Vader out.
exactly, things get,
Vader it up.
our heroes are going to be in a lot of trouble. The Darth Vader by Charles Soule is excellent. Again, we've talked many times about what a wonderful job Marvel's doing with these properties.
Yep.
Okay,
Page 102, Marvel Universe by Frank Miller Omnibus. I think that's the first, unless I'm missing in there. I think it's the first time they've collected something like that.
No, they've collected these before.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, these are miscellaneous stories Miller's done. I mean, a lot of them are fantastic. Where he either wrote and or drew them. You have great writers in here: Claremont, O'Neill, Mantlo, Stern, Gillis. I mean, great stuff. Joe Duffy, Mark Grunwald. And then you have on Marvel Universe by John Byrne, Omnibus Volume 2 on page 103. Again, if I had money, I'd love to have some of these books in my library, but it's just too much now. But a lot of great, one-shot or mini arcs that Byrne did, including, and Jamie D. always loved these, as do I, the Marvel team-ups he did with Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, and Colin Wing. By the way, have you been watching Luke Cage Season 2?
No.
Oh, shit!
I'm still on Season 1. Oh. I haven't seen anything past, Episode 3 of Season 1 of Luke
so
Cage.
when we do our next comic talk, I won't spoil anything, but I have to wax rhapsodic. Season 2 of Luke Cage is one of the best Marvel seasons yet.
Okay.
Of any show, for me. It is tremendous.
Yeah,
I'll talk about it in more detail.
I'm disappointed in myself that I'm that far
Shane,
behind.
it's not a moral failing. It's just television.
Well, it's Luke Cage, then it's Iron Fist, Defenders, Jessica Jones 2. I mean, all of a sudden there's 18 things.
Oh, Jessica Jones 2 was phenomenal, too.
Yeah,
all
that's
right,
what I hear.
Find some time over the summer.
Yeah. All
late
these
nights.
other shows are off.
Yeah.
Page 106. If you did not pick these up when they were coming out,
Oh, the
I would
yellow, blue,
recommend
gray, white. Wonderful.
Jeff
great.
Loeb and Tim Sale, Yellow, Blue, Gray,
These are
and
classics.
White Omnibus.
They're all great. Spider-Man Blue especially.
Just fantastic.
Again, they're exploring the Silver Age eras of these characters. And Jeff Loeb, again, another creator who so knows his history and has such reverence for that history that comes through in those stories. On page 108, so it's, 20 years since Marvel Knights?
Yep.
So they're re-releasing the classic Priest, the first arc of his legendary Black Panther run, which I've talked about ad nauseum on this show, by him and Mark Texiera.
Guardian Devil on the next
Smith and
page.
Quesada, which is great. I also enjoyed, it doesn't get as much play, but FF1234 by Grant Morrison's a lot of fun.
Yep. I like the Inhumans a little bit better than FF1234.
Oh, Inhumans is tremendous by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. They don't have that here, no. They don't. Okay. The Wade and the late great Michael Ringo FF run is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
That includes the legendary Doom Unthinkable storyline, one of the all-time great Doctor Doom stories. So that collects their entire run. I have a page for the Unthinkable storyline that Ringo did. It's treasure that.
Bunch of great FF stuff on the next couple pages.
Behold Galactus.
Page 114.
Monster size format.
If you did not read The Thing.
I never read that.
Oh.
It's Slott, though, so I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, it was a hoot and a half. I was very disappointed when that series got cut. I thought, maybe I'm wrong, I thought it was an ongoing and got trimmed to what it became. But it was a lot of fun to read.
That's all I need to hear, my friend. Also, The World's Greatest Comics magazine is a wonderful mini-series they did where they picked up like a fragment that Lee and Kirby had done and not finished. They made a whole story out of it. Mm-hmm. Excellent. We talked about on one of our FF spotlights about the Byrne era in the 80s, which is one of the definitive runs of the Fantastic Four. Highest record. That's an omnibus worth owning. That's tremendous. If you're an FF fan, you should own that.
118 has a good epic collection of Amazing Spider-Man with Venom's first appearance. Issues 295 to 310, which I collected right off the shelf. In annual
McFarlane era. Yep. lot of great Star Wars trays in the back.
I have them, but I didn't read yet the Thrawn issues. I was
I
surprised.
want to read the Thrawn novel.
Me too.
I haven't read that yet.
I have it.
It's by Zahn, right?
And there's a second.
So it's him reintroducing Thrawn into the new continuity then,
I
essentially, right?
believe so,
Okay.
yes. There's a second book coming out this summer.
Oh, really?
in that,
You wrote a
yeah.
sequel. Okay. I got to catch up. I want to point on page 137, the Iron Fist Epic Collection. So this collects... This might be... This is a new printing, yeah. So some people might not realize that... Iron Fist was created by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane. And then after them, Chris Claremont did a fairly lengthy run on the character, at some points with John Byrne, in both Marvel Premiere and then the Iron Fist Bronze Age series, and then the Marvel Team Up stories you mentioned before, which kind of are sort of the finale to that run. This is great stuff. It's Bronze Age, Claremont and Byrne doing Iron Fist. The Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen Wing, Misty Knight. If you're watching Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and you want to learn more about these characters, this is a great place to start. This epic collection. Man, the actors they have playing Misty Knight and Colleen Wing have so perfectly nailed the essence of those characters and their dynamic. I really hope they do a Daughters of the Dragon show eventually. I know a lot of people are down on the casting for Iron Fist. I'm hoping for season 2 we're going to see a
bump up.
A step up for
Yeah.
that. Because there were parts of that first season I liked. I do think it's the weakest of all the Marvel shows. But I think there's still room for that to find its feet. I think we shot our bolt, my friend.
Yeah, we sure did. That's an hour and 45 minutes of comic goodness.
Not bad.
All right. Yeah, I guess there's nothing
And
else.
again, stay tuned. We will get our logistical act together. We'll have more episodes coming
ducks in
down
a
the
row.
pike. Yeah, we're not going to hopefully have to spend another month trying to
Finagle.
get everything together here. So
Finagle
again,
schedule.
thanks so much for listening, and always thanks for the generous donations as well. Write us out there, Shani Poo.
Thank you to our sponsor, DCB Service, Discount Comic Book Service. Go there for all your pre-ordering needs. Get yourself a preview magazine. Go online and order some books. Good prices, good company. Can't go wrong. DCBService.com. And let's see if I can do this right. If it's going to go, it might not. No, it didn't. There we go. Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com to send us an email. The address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Yeah, that's right. And let us know what you are all getting out of previews. God, if I only had all the money in the world. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the episodes and sticks with us through the periods when we're scheduling conflicts. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes to laser beams, opinions like the sea